All right, hello virtual learners. I'm back. I have a new lesson for first grade. The focus of this lesson is to get our first graders learning how to unitize. What unitizing is when you count a group of objects as one thing. When students are first learning how to count, each object is worth 1. You know, we work on one-to-one correspondence. So for example, if I'm counting soda tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so students have to transition from thinking about these just as single units to then being able to count groups, because this is going to develop an understanding of place value. Our number system is based on groups of 10, and then 10 of whatever group you have will make one of a larger group. So this really starts in kindergarten when students explore teen numbers as a group of 10 and some more. And then in first grade, we move up to 2-digit numbers. And some parts of the state, I believe, even go up to 120. So I will show you some of the things that you can use to practice this concept. In school, we group one-to-one manipulatives like unifix cubes, beads, but at home you might not have some of those things that we use in school, some of the counters that we use, but you can really use anything to count. So what I have here is just a bunch of soda tabs. At my school right now we're doing, this year we were doing a Collect 1 Million challenge where we were working on collecting soda tabs and making them groups of tens and hundreds and thousands and 10,000s with the ultimate goal of getting 1 million tabs. I know we got to 100,000 before they called off school for the year, but we're definitely going to keep this going to help reinforce place value. But if you don't have tabs, think about things that you do have a lot of at your house. You might have a lot of pennies, you might have pasta, you might have beads. Think about things that you can count and easily put into groups. The other thing that you might want to think about is something that you can use to actually group those things. So for example, one of my favorite things to use is I take an egg carton and I just cut off 2 of the egg carton cells, which leaves me with 10 groups of 10 here. And then when that's filled up with 10 tens and you close it, it's 1 pack of 100. You can also leave the 2 other cells on there, and then when you close it, it would be 12 tens, which relates to the task that we're going to do today. I also went up into my bathroom and I pulled out these little Dixie cups because these are also perfect for grouping. So this is another option that you can use to help group your objects. And if you want to, you can label each of these as 10. So if you start labeling cups with 10s on it, then they can see the groups of 10 that way. These are all just options to do the same thing. So the goal of today's lesson is I'm just going to show you how to get started. I'll show you what the answer is, but I really want you to let your student or your child work to figure this out. How many groups of 10 or how many 10s would I need to show 120? Another scaffold that I will just show you that we use in school a lot is a 10 frame. And all that a 10 frame is, you might find paper versions online. You can of course draw your own. It's just an organizer with 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, and it helps students see that that's a group of 10. It also helps them learn number and number relationships as they're placing objects into the 10 frame. For example, if they're placing 10 here, if they fill up halfway, they might start noticing some important benchmarks like 5 is half of 10, or that 2 5s make 10. Or 6 is 5 and 1 more, or maybe they think of 6 as 3 and 3, or 2 and 2 and 2, and all of these are important relationships to understand. Even just looking at that 6, they might think, oh, 6, I just need 4 more to make 10, so they're learning those partners of 10 as they're putting whatever their counter is into the 10 frame. So, and even here, this is 9, and they can learn 9 is 1 less than 10. So as they're using the 10 frame, they're learning all of these number and number relationships that are super important in building numeracy. So then once they have a group of 10, you will ask them, how many tabs do you have? They'll say, I have 10 tabs. Well, how many groups of 10 does that make? 10, excuse me, 10 ones will make one group of 10. So I can take those 10 tabs and put them into a cup, or I can put it into one of the cells in my egg carton. Whatever you're using to show your groups of 10, you could even just cut some pieces of paper and just put 10 pieces of paper on the ground and have them set the tabs right up on those papers. You could make 10s frames and have them leave the tabs or the pasta or whatever they're counting on the 10s frames and count their groups of 10 that way. Any of those will work. So I'm just going to show you what this might look like if I'm going to use 10s to show 120 objects. All right, I've been working on my collection and I just wanted to show you, as your students are making these groups of 10, the entire time that they're working, you can stop and ask them questions along the way. So some questions, this might be a stopping point that a student was at. Each of these cups have 10 soda tabs in it, but remember, it can be 10 dried noodles, it can be 10 pennies in each cup, whatever you're collecting 10 of, 10 marshmallows, 10 pieces of, 10 M&Ms. So then at any time you can stop and ask them, how many 10s do you have so far? And so here I can say I have 1 10, 2 10s, 3 10s, 4 10s, 5 10s, 6 10s, 7 10s. So they can say I have 7 10s. You can say, well, how many tabs are in 7 10s, or how many noodles are in 7 10s? And then they would have to say, well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So 7 10s is 70. How many left over do you have? 4. So what does 70 and 4 make? Or what does 7 10s and 4 leftovers make? Or 7 10s and 4 1s make? And that's 74. So the whole time that they're counting and grouping, you're asking them questions about how much they have so far. You can even ask them, well, what would it be if you had another 10 once you fill that up? Right now you have 70. Once you fill that up, what will you have? What's 10 more than 70? It's 80. How far are you away? How many more do you need to have 80? Well, I need 6 more. Do you see all these questions that you can be asking as they're building these sets? And kids love, love, love to count. So, all right, we're going to come back in a minute. All right, so right now, here I'm at the solution for my problem to show 120 objects. Let's just check that there's 120 objects. Each of these groups has 10. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. It's also a good point to stop and say, well, how many groups of 10 did it take you to get to 100? 10 10s makes 100 is a huge concept that we want students to understand in elementary school. So now I'm at 100. Plus another 10. Students sometimes have a hard time breaking that 100 or thinking what is 1 more than 100 or 10 more than 100. So you might have to support them in counting on from 100. So 100 plus 10 more is 110. And then another 10 is 20. And then we go to 120 so that they can see that this pattern of counting by 10s repeats. Just like we started 10, 20. Once we have 100, it's 100, 10, 20. And that pattern is repeating, and you can keep going on and on. So my challenge question is to ask how many 10s are in 120. So now I'm not asking students to count each individual tab. I'm asking students to count those groups of 10. So you can see there's 1 10, 2 10s, 3 10s, 4 10s, 5 10s, 6 10s, 7 10s, 8 10s, 9 10s, 10 10s. You can think of it as 10 10s and 2 10s is 12 10s, or you can just count on from 10 10s, 11 10s, 12 10s. So in 120 objects, there would be 12 groups of 10. So this is just one sample of accounting collections that you could do. You could have your student try the 120 objects. You could give them 130, or you can give them 80, or you can give them 150 and ask them how many 10s would it take to make that much. All right, happy counting, first grade.